there are no permanent friends and there are no permanent enemies, just varying interests. And interests are like a river, that where the interests flow, the river flows. And sometimes you can dam interests, sometimes you can overrun the dam. So depending on where interests flow, politicians are also likely to flow. But I remember one day we were having this conversation in this show, and I told you for a fact that Azimio had hired goons to destroy their own demonstrations.
Do you want to reconsider?
And there was a hidden argument. No, I don't want to reconsider. I want to confirm that was actually the case. No. And you remember, and I say this in the context, still in the context of what you've asked, because Maina Jenga, a confirmed Azimio a theorist, excuse me, did confirm that indeed they are the ones who had sent their own goons to invade Kenyatta's farm. And so it tells you that really, in terms of perceived enmity, it was actually driven by the Azimio propaganda wing, which is very effective. So in my own opinion, and I agree with the DP that politics are politics, and we let bygones be bygones. And I have seen many people celebrate the fact that, or rather what has been perceived to be elevation of Musalia Mudavadi to the foreign affairs docket. But I would want people to hold their horses a little bit, because you know, there are sometimes you can help, tunasema saa ingine ubembelezi punda kwa mteremko. And I think, in my opinion, our prime CS is a guy, sometimes even when you try to assist, you know, in football, sometimes you have assists. But you know, when the striker is unable to score, then you really cannot blame the other player. So in my own opinion, even if you were to give the prime CS whichever position, really he is unable to convert that. And I'll say for a fact that the DP, as it is, he's better off reaching to the former president so that he can bridge the gap that Azimio were able to get in the Mount Kenya region. It's much easier for him to do that than for the prime CS to consolidate the western backyard.
Yes.
Because remember, the western backyard, you have half of it going to Raila, you have some of it going to Etangula, and the remainder goes to Mudavadi. So even in terms of really 2027 or beyond politics, it's actually easier for the DP to consolidate his backyard than for the prime CS to consolidate his backyard. In fact, if you ask me right now, in terms of that context of politics, my own observation would be, if I were Kalonzo Musyoka right now, I would appear in State House Lawns or in Harambee House doing a handshake with Ruto. Because then that's a much better gamble politically than trying to elevate our prime CS. But that's my opinion, and of course nothing excites the newsmakers as a brow that might raise a bit of dust. But I think these divergence or perceived divergence between the DP and the president is phantom fantasies, building castles in the air.
Does it?
I believe the president, the deputy president is wiser, having observed the relationship between the former president and his deputy. I think he's a bit wiser. He knows what could go wrong if it goes wrong. Even if there was a rift, I think he would be a very careful man to mend that rift. Because you know, when government fails at the top, then everyone else who's not aligned to the presidency tends to suffer. So whether you are in a parastatal, whether you are in another government agency, if your man at the helm suffers political consequences, those consequences tend to flow. And I think the DP does not want that to happen, at least for now. But always, as we say in politics, is about interest. If interests change, then the political direction is going to change.
Tazem.